Wizard of Legend 2 is changing so much about how the game looks and getting rid of some of the most beloved mechanics like choosing your own relics and your dash acting as an extra arcana. To longtime players of Wizard of Legend, these changes are huge and don't make a lot of sense, leading to a pretty logical question. Why? Contingent 99 handed development over to Humble Games and Dead Mage, two studios that have a lot of experience in creating roguelikes across different styles and mechanics. Surely this change will give a better budget with a bigger team to give us the best game for players, right? I'm not sure, and neither are veterans of the first game, but before I can dive into what's changing with Wizard of Legend 2, we need to understand what went wrong with the first Wizard of Legend game. Way back on June 21st in 2016, Contingent 99 created a Kickstarter campaign to get the original Wizard of Legend game off the ground. The goal for the campaign was $50,000. You could pledge anywhere from $5 to $1,000, with perks ranging from a digital copy of the game to an in-game statue made in your likeness, which is a pretty cool perk. And for $1,000, I mean, that's kind of cool to live forever in a video game. I mean, if I had $1,000 in the time machine, I would definitely go back and do it. 3,289 people backed the game, and over 600 of those backers had never backed another Kickstarter project before. I feel like that's a really good indicator of how excited and impressed people were with how Wizard of Legend was marketed. To give you some perspective, I found a game on Kickstarter called Sunset Devils. It has a really similar vibe to Wizard of Legends, and though it's not a roguelike, it has a really similar goal at $51,000. It has over 1,000 backers, which is still just a third of the amount of backers that Wizard of Legend had. That's crazy to think about. It really just tells you how excited people were for Wizard of Legend, which leads to the first problem: expectations. I'm not saying this game didn't deliver on promises that were made, but when you're fully funded in June of 2016 and don't ship the game until May of 2018, there's some room for questions. Look, game development is incredibly complicated and difficult. I'm not saying it wasn't going to take 2 years to develop the game anyway, but that's a good amount of time between initial excitement and a shipped game. The timelines that Contingent 99 was working with eventually became negative circumstances around the game's release and didn't do them any favors when it came to meeting fans' expectations with the title. Like I said, the game fully shipped in May of 2018 and sold over 500,000 copies by the end of July of the same year. Fans were mostly happy and it performed okay critically, and not much else was said. A big criticism from players was that there wasn't a lot of content. I mean, once you beat the main story, your only motivation to play was to try out different builds on your own time. You couldn't even play online multiplayer because co-op was only locally available. And I'm not saying that's like a major problem, because Contingent 99 was a smaller studio and it takes a lot to have servers up and running all the time, but still people wanted it and were missing it. But before any more content could come out for Wizard of Legend, another major player, player in the game of, like, you know what, it's a metaphor, Hades is announced and a demo becomes available in December of 2018. When it comes to timing, this could not have been worse for Wizard of Legend. I mean, they sold their units. I would say, without a doubt, they succeeded commercially, but the longevity of their game was being threatened, and it didn't help that they had the negative perception of being unreplayable. In the midst of all of this though, Contingent 99 was working on DLC. In March of 2019, the Sky Palace DLC for Wizard of Legend is released, and it brings a lot of players back, but after that, it's kind of crickets. Hades officially launches in December of 2019 on Steam, and after that, there's staggered releases across all consoles until August of 2021. I couldn't really find anything on if that release schedule was by design or if it was just a symptom of packing this game up for different consoles and all the hoops that come with that. Either way, it consistently brought new players into the underworld for almost 2 years straight. Tack on that it's leaning really heavily on some mythology that everyone on this planet is almost somewhat familiar with, and you can see why the barrier to entry was pretty low, which makes it really hard for Wizard of Legend to compete. So what comes next? You might think that Contingent 99 would pack it up, happy at least that Wizard of Legend might eventually be considered a cult classic, and they were able to gain some attention telling a unique story with a 2D magic roguelike. But that's not what happened. C99 pivoted. Wizard of Legend 2 got announced on May 18, 2023 at the Humble Games Showcase. You might guess that Humble Games is still producing, but Contingent 99 handed development over to Dead Mage, a developer with recognized experience in making action roguelikes. C99 is still consulting, but that's a big deal. I mean, they took the baby of the game that was funded and built up by the community and handed it over to different developers. I don't know about you, but if I'd funded and bought into C99's original vision, I don't know how I would feel about this. I mean, I think I'd be upset. I at the very least would definitely question why it happened. We got some time to think about this, but barely a year went by until Supergiant Games, the developers of Hades, had an announcement of their own. Hades 2 is announced, and apparently it's been in earnest development since 2021. The first time a version of this timeline happened, I kind of chalked it up to coincidence, but now I know that Supergiant Games knows exactly what they're doing and the kind of impact they want the Hades franchise to make on the roguelike genre. In a corner of the video game world that's kind of crowded, they want to stand out, and trust me, they do. Early access for Hades 2 came out in May of 2024, and in less than 24 hours, the game broke the original all-time player record for Hades. If you're curious, Hades peaked at 38 88,000 on Steam. Hades 2, you ask? 103,000, and it's still climbing. As a side note, the journey of Melinoe, the princess of the underworld, is infused with a lot of magic elements, even more so than Zagreus's in the first game, and some might say that's a coincidence, but I'm not so sure. So now, in the present moment, both games have playable versions out. Wizard of Legend 2 with a demo, and Hades 2 in early access. But I still haven't answered the question I posed at the beginning of the video. Why did Wizard of Legend 2 change so much about the game when the original game was so beloved stylistically in the fans' eyes? You kinda probably can guess why I've been pulling Hades into this whole discussion. It's undeniable that Hades and Hades 2 is having a very big impact on the development of Wizard of Legend 2. Contingent 99 learned their lesson when it comes to keeping player support via time and money. As soon as Hades was on the scene, there was a new shiny toy for players to go hop into. To combat that, you hand it off to bigger devs who can produce a bigger product in better time. That's logical. What doesn't feel logical is sacrificing everything that made your game unique, specifically the style. I know they did it to compete with Hades, but I don't think it ever will. The best thing Wizard of Legend had going for it was its distinct 2D style. You can create a deeper story, provide a range of difficulty customizations, introduce new and engaging mechanics, give players online co-op modes, and so much more without getting rid of the incredibly differentiating style of your game. It could have been done, but I don't think we'll see that style return. I'm not saying Wizard of Legend 2 is not fun. I had a great time playing it, but I don't think it's a great sequel. I've seen some fans say that it shouldn't be called Wizard of Legend 2, but instead Wizard of Legend something, to really nail home the fact that it's more of a reimagining of the first game. I think that's a really appropriate suggestion and one that should really seriously be considered. There will be criticisms with every game, especially one with distinct mechanics that are meant to make the game harder or unique in its own way. The OG Wizard of Legend didn't have invincibility frames because your dash was a type of arcana. It was one of your attacks. The levels had more character and you could custom pick your relics. None of this was in the demo, but to be fair, it's just a demo. I mean, a lot can change from now to the shipped game, so we'll see if they actually pull it back towards the original Wizard of Legend or if fans are just going to be disappointed. I think it's a good idea to go into any game with an open mind. The developers are obviously still fleshing this out, so let's give them time to create a product we might be happy to play. The good thing though, you're probably going to have enough time to pick up both of these titles, and I really encourage you to at least try them both because they're really fun. I've played both of them and I can see myself sinking a lot of time into them. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to leave a comment about like what you think about this whole thing. Are you excited for Wizard of Legend 2? Or are you not going to touch it because it's so different than the first game? I'd really like to know what you think. Leave a like, join the Discord. It'll be linked in the description down below. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye!